got to be handled in a proper way. If it's not handled in a proper way, we don't want it to happen again. We can never let what happened in the 2020 election happen again. We just can't let that happen. And so the way we go, I know Keisha's working on it, everybody's working on it, and certainly Tulsi's working on it. We can't let that happen again to our country. Look at what's happened where you have millions of people being allowed to come into our country, all because of a crooked election.
Our opening clip was convicted felon Donald Trump in our Oval Office, which he bedazzled with cheap gold glitter like a stripper's cell phone. Trump promises that the taxpayer-funded FBI that we, the taxpayers, are paying for, that has now been hijacked by MAGA internet troll Kash Patel, will make sure that Trump can steal the next election. That is what he's saying here. With Republican gerrymandering, Russian and Chinese bot farms, and Elon Musk's disinformation weapon of taking over Twitter and turning it into a lie machine for Trump, plus weird reported glitches throughout battleground states in the 2024 election, Trump, a notorious cheater on and off the golf course, and in every single one of his 3 marriages, came to power illegally in 2024 and, of course, in 2016, as we've long documented on the show. Yes, America is racist. Yes, America is sexist. These elections were close, but close enough for the convicted felon in the White House to steal them both times. Both times. And if that still doesn't convince you, Jim Crow election suppression by the Republicans, by John Roberts' Supreme Court, has disenfranchised an estimated 3.5 million people. I will link to that analysis in the show notes. Yes, Kamala Harris, given how close she came, we won the election. I'm not afraid to say that. I'm not afraid to look crazy. They've always tried to make me look crazy, and now they all sound like me. Do you remember when I tried to warn you, Trump wants to be a dictator, Trump's a Russian asset? That's now every podcast out there, okay? So I'm going to go one step even further than the majority, than the conventional wisdom, and say Trump stole both elections, and he is upset over 2020, not just because he's a narcissist, but because he's projecting. He's projecting when he claims that 2020 was stolen, the big lie. It's projection. That's what they do. So remember, when Trump accuses us of stealing the 2020 election by voting him out legally, that is a confession. Now, the big question is, who is going to protect us from the midterms and the 2028 election from being stolen? I can tell you from experience, the Democratic Party establishment will bring a baguette to a tank fight. Our only hope lies in putting pressure on our local state leaders, especially the Secretary of States, who ensure the integrity of our elections. And that MAGA voters will, of course, wake up to reality. Trump is infuriating American farmers with his tariff war, and now importing beef from Argentina to boost Latino MAGA Milei in his election. Again, Elon Musk based what he did on Doge on what Milei did to Argentina. So now Milei is feeling the heat from voters in Argentina, and MAGA world here in America is literally election meddling to try to bail him out. Bail him out with $40 billion of U.S. taxpayer funding for fucking up Argentina. From Newsweek, quote, according to the poll by The Economist and YouGov, 48% of Americans who voted for Trump in the 2024 election said they disapprove of the U.S. government providing up to $40 billion in financial assistance to Argentina. Those are Trump voters. Trump voters. Now, the big question we should all be asking ourselves, why all this love for Argentina? The Trump administration, through Marco Rubio, Elon Musk, the Trumps, Russell Vought, mass purging our government, has sentenced countless millions around the world who depended on life-saving aid from the U.S. to die. So why does Argentina get a lifeline? For one, again, this is very illegal election meddling by the United States, but pay closer attention. In recent weeks, headlines have been full of Republicans in chat groups getting off on praising Hitler. Where did the Nazis flee to after losing World War II? Argentina. Argentina was a Nazi paradise that then devolved over time into its own dictatorship with torture chambers engineered with the help of Nazis and their descendants. We write about this in the Gaslit Nation graphic novel, Dictatorship, It's Easier Than You Think. Argentina, for many years, was a Nazi paradise. Why might the Trump family, that came to power with the help of actual Nazis, who themselves are actual Nazis, Ivana Trump, said that Trump kept a book of Hitler speeches by his bed. He gives these rally speeches in the style of Hitler. We've had people on the show, like Sandy Bacon, who has attended many of Trump's rallies, talk about the mesmerizing hypnosis, the repetition of Trump's rallies, the emotional chill of Trump's rallies that feel very Hitler-esque. So why might the Trump family throw Argentina such a massive lifeline at the expense of American farmers? Because now they're importing all of this beef when farmers across America are already getting destroyed by Trump's tariffs war. And now the entire international economy is turning to China for their soybeans instead of the US. Trump's own voters in rural America are getting massively screwed, royally screwed by the wannabe king in the White House. But Argentina getting this massive payday of American taxpayer billions. The reason why, as I keep telling you on this show, the Trumps are scared. They are scared. If they weren't scared, they wouldn't desperately militarize ICE with a war chest, including chemical weapons and guided missile warheads. They wouldn't openly push every Republican state to gerrymander as extreme as possible so they could automatically steal the House in the midterms. They're doing all of this, including bailing out Argentina, to have a close ally of authoritarianism in our own neighborhood that they can maybe eventually escape to if they need to, because Argentina is a lot more their style than having to go to Russia, where it's really, really cold in the wintertime, right? Ivanka and Jared live in Florida. All the Trumps live in Florida. They would much rather have to be exiled in Argentina than Russia. So they're basically developing Argentina like their own personal billionaire bunker. It is so on script by the AI overlords who are clearly writing the simulation. Trump, oh my goodness. Trump is obviously in his fear and loathing stage of trying to overthrow democracy. Like any narcissist, he is punishing us for standing up to him. He is illegally, very illegally, demolishing the historic East Wing of our historic White House during the War of 1812. The British burned down our White House. Trump's illegal monstrosity of a ballroom will be remembered this way. A Russian asset trader to our country, a convicted felon, a serial rapist, pedophile, friend of pedophiles, is burning down our White House and our country. He is doing this to punish us for standing up to him, just like he's demanding $230 million from the DOJ, from our government, for investigating him. He wants a $230 million U.S. taxpayer-funded bailout. Who else is going to pay that $230 million but us? Trump is such a traitor to our country that the Dutch, who lost a commercial jet full of their own citizens to a Russian missile fired during Putin's invasion of Ukraine, is putting the brakes on sharing intelligence with the U.S. Remember, Trump has had several phone calls with Putin. Several. They gleefully met on U.S. soil in Alaska. Trump is working for Putin. American officials around Trump are sanctioning Russian oil, but it's just for show. These latest Russian oil sanctions are a slap on the wrist compared to what Congress could actually do with Trump's support. There is a bipartisan bill in Congress that will do serious sanction damage to contain Russia and ramp up defensive aid for Ukraine. There's bipartisan support for this bill. He's forcing Ukraine, a country fighting for survival, to pay for aid. That is to weaken and further stress and fracture the democratic alliance against Russian-backed fascism. Trump is working for Putin. I don't know why people are having such a hard time understanding this when the pattern is so clearly there, the documentation is so clearly there. He's definitely not working for us, the American people. He's not working for the people that even voted for him. Believe your eyes and your ears. It is what it is. And why might he even bother or approve of these Russian oil sanctions? Because dictators depend on plausible denial to confuse and control their opposition. They do this to throw us a bone every now and then so that we feel like, oh, it might not be so bad, right? There's a chance there, right? It's called gaslighting. We call the show Gaslit Nation for a reason. So pay close attention to Trump's White House demolition meant to punish and humiliate the U.S. There's a Cold War element to the history of the White House spaces that the Trump family has destroyed so far in our White House, because we know who they're working for. We're going to get into the weird Cold War history behind Trump's White House demolition in this week's bonus show for Gaslit Nation Patreon subscribers who keep our show going. If you want to hear this full episode, all bonus shows, hear every episode ad-free, get invites to virtual events like our Monday salons at 4 p.m. Eastern, be sure to subscribe at patreon.com/gaslit. That's patreon.com/gaslit. Discounted annual subscriptions are available, and you can give the gift of membership. Thank you to everyone who supports the show. We could not make Gaslit Nation without you. Ukraine needs our help, and if you want to pitch in, check out the fundraiser that I'll link to in the show notes. Join me there to donate for an urgent cause. Tell the forces of darkness that we refuse to abandon Ukraine in its hour of need by shining our collective light on this fundraiser. Again, look for it at the top of the show notes of this week's bonus show. Before we get into it, I want to thank everyone who joined me for the Gaslit Nation Halloween phone bank with Sister District for Must Win Virginia. In a surprise move, Democrats in Virginia are joining California for new maps that will give them 2 or 3 additional seats to help balance out Trump's gerrymandering war against the American people so that Republicans can automatically steal the House. This is why local elections matter. This is why you must join me and Sister District at future phone banks. If you couldn't make the one last night, I'll link to others where you can join more phone banks to help us plant urgent seeds of hope, taking back our country one election at a time and chipping away like water eroding the rock of fascism. We will get there, and it will take all of us doing what we can, where we are, with what we have. Unite and fight. That is the only way forward. Now let's get into it. Here is Propaganda Barbie telling us what we already know.
In addition to the ballroom and the Rose Garden patio, is the president looking at any other renovations or significant kind of projects here at the White House?
Not to my knowledge, no. But he's a builder at heart, clearly. And so his heart and his mind is always churning about how to improve things here on the White House grounds. But at this moment in time, of course, the ballroom is really the president's main priority.
Have you noticed something about the Trump family's demolition of our beautiful history and our beautiful White House?